In a liquidation, what are your entitlements to redundancy pay? Hi, my name is Gordon De Silva. I am the multi-award winning chartered accountant. I am the author of the best-selling book Profit Propeller, and I also am the inventor and creator of the Profit Multiplier program. One of the questions that came up recently was, what would be your entitlement in a liquidation to redundancy pay? Now, this affects both employees and directors, as long as you've got a contract of employment. So if you haven't got a contract of employment, it's probably something you want to consider doing. Talk to your HR department, talk to your accountant, and decide whether it's right for you or not. Now, if you have a contract of employment, what can you claim? The first thing you can claim is pay for 8 weeks in arrears. So if you haven't been paid for 8 weeks, and that's the maximum you can claim for that from the government. The government will actually pay for that if the company cannot. So that's really worth knowing. 8 weeks is a lot of money. If you haven't been paid for 8 weeks, which is quite common, especially for directors, they're the last ones to get paid for the wrong reasons. I believe they should be the first ones to be paid. But you would be entitled to 8 weeks pay, which is really quite an important thing to know and apply for. The second thing you'd be allowed is pay in lieu of notice. Now, if you run your business for 10 years before it goes into liquidation, and it's not very nice, but there are times when you'd rather be going to liquidation than remortgaging your house to bail a company out. And you want to talk to us about that before you bail your own company out with your own money and your own equity and your own property. Then, if you haven't been given a notice period, then you can claim for your 6 weeks in lieu of notice. It's a maximum 6 weeks, less if you're entitled to less. Whatever you're entitled to, you're allowed up to that period. You're also able to claim holiday pay of up to 6 weeks if that's what your entitlement was for the period of the last 12 months. So if your entitlement for the last 12 months was 4 weeks, then you'd be entitled to 4 weeks. If your entitlement for the last 12 months was 6 weeks and you haven't been paid it, then you'd be entitled to 6 weeks. If your entitlement was 8 weeks for 12 months, you haven't had it yet, then you would only be entitled to 6 weeks. That's the maximum you can have. So that's another really nice claim worth having, and that you should be aware of, because it could be worth a lot of money to you. Of course, you're also entitled to redundancy pay. So again, if you run the company for 10 years, you're allowed redundancy for the equivalent to 10 years worth based on your salary. Now, many directors have a very low salary, so they may not get very much, but it's important that you claim what you're due, because it can still mount up to a lot of money. And finally, if your company hasn't made a pension contribution for you, and it should have done, that's again one of the things that typically doesn't get made, then you can claim for the amount of the pension contribution that was due to be paid into your pension as part of the redundancy from the government. So remember, you're allowed to get pay in lieu of notice. So if your notice period was 6 weeks or 8 weeks, then you're allowed to get your pay in lieu of notice, because obviously the liquidation means you weren't given your notice period. And so that's an important value to be able to capture when you make your redundancy claim. So all of that leads us to thinking, we don't want to be made redundant. We don't want a company to go into liquidation. But if it does happen, there is potential to claim, which you need to be aware of and use. One of the examples I have is one of my clients who went into liquidation after running their business for I think it was like 15 years. Each director was able to claim £8,000 tax-free in redundancy pay from the government, because the company just couldn't afford it, and £8,000 each. Now, that went a significant way to helping them start up the Phoenix business. It also went a significant way to helping them buy the goodwill from the liquidators, all above board. And so, had they tried to bail the company out, which I talked them out of, they were looking to try to find something like £68,000 just to get started on the bailout, and they still wouldn't have cash flow. And so, the liquidation, while unpleasant, especially after so long, and these guys loved their business, they really looked after it, but things just went wrong for them. Unfortunately, it was a better thing to do than put their houses, remortgage their houses and risk even more to keep a, if you like, failing business alive. It's not something we enjoy doing, but sometimes for the good of the future, for the good of creating more employment down in the long term, It's just something that has to be done. So let me leave you with those thoughts. If you would like advice on where you are financially, if you're finding it difficult to meet your bills, if you are finding it difficult to trade at a profit enough to make some of the arrears go away, then now is probably a good time to have a conversation with somebody like me. It doesn't have to be me, but make sure they know and understand the commercial basis for continuing or not continuing your current business vehicle. I don't mean car, I mean limited company or LLP. If you're personally liable, then you've got probably no choice, and that's really a bad place to be. We really never ever recommend anyone trading as a sole trader or unlimited partnership, because the risks are just too high in your personal wealth. Anyway, let me leave you with those thoughts. If you'd like to know more about how we can help you make more profits to avoid this whole problem in the first place, if you'd like to talk to us about getting out of that situation, if you're close to the edge and you want to trade out of it, then our Profit Multiplier program may be right for you. And if it is, watch some of the blogs on the process, on the program, and how we talk. And if everything goes well, we can start a conversation with the view to considering whether we should work together once we make sure that everything is in the right place for both of us. I look forward to speaking to you soon. You take care of yourself, and please don't forget, like it, share it, comment on it, and subscribe to our video channel or our website. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.